It's race week, guys. The British Grand Prix is on this week, and ahead of the event, of course, I'm going to look at the best, most unforgettable, most incredible moments around Silverstone in Formula 1 over the decades. Silverstone hosted the first ever Formula 1 World Championship race back in 1950, and it's hosted every British Grand Prix since 1987. Brands Hatch and Aintree hosted the circuit at different times in the past, but Silverstone is very much the home of British motorsport and the home of the British Grand Prix, and it's going to remain that way potentially forever if you listen to the noises coming out of the Prime Minister's office in recent times. But let's have a look to the past. Let's have a look at the best moments at Silverstone in Formula 1 over the decades. I'm going to start with that 1987 race that I mentioned, the first one of Silverstone being a permanent fixture on the F1 calendar. This was, of course, an incredible battle between Nigel Mansell and Nelson Piquet driving for the Williams. Both drivers missed out on the championship in 1986 to Alain Prost's McLaren. However, Williams were back with a dominant car in 1987, and in truth, these guys were absolutely clear of the rest of the field. I think Senna finished third in this one, and he was like a lap behind in his Lotus. That just tells you how good they were. Mansell was rapid. He got stopped for some new tyres, and he was much faster than Nelson Piquet. Piquet had the lead though, he had track position, and of course he was going to get the elbows out to make things as difficult as possible for Nigel Mansell to get past. Piquet though never saw this coming, because Mansell pulled off what is basically described as the first ever dummy move, the fade out, where he goes to one way, then he goes the other way, then he goes through, and there's nothing you can do to stop him. That pass down the hanger straight is without doubt one of the most iconic in the history of Formula 1, and our Nige went on to take the victory. Mansell was incredible around Silverstone. He took 4 victories in the British Grand Prix as a whole. He was absolutely unbelievable around there, and Mansell mania was absolutely in full swing after that race. But let's skip ahead now. Let's skip ahead to the 1990s. A lot of controversial incidents involving Michael Schumacher in the 90s, but I'm going to highlight the 1998 race here because it was run in absolutely torrential rain conditions for the most part, and Schumacher was looking well clear of the rest of the field. However, unfortunately for him, he had a penalty to serve, but basically Ferrari argued that Schumacher got the penalty too late, which was true. They have to give the penalty within a certain time of the incident happening. The FIA did not do that. They still gave him the penalty though and insisted he comes in for a stop-go, but they did it on the last lap, and he actually won the race in the pit lane. He served his penalty, then he continued down the pit lane and crossed the line in first position. Very controversial victory. There were calls for him to get a penalty or be disqualified for it, but he kept it. Very controversial call to this day, no doubt. But of course, that's Schumacher. Lots of controversial things happen in his career. Maybe I'll cover it more in an in-depth video, of course, at some time. I'm sure I will do at some point. But let's skip ahead to the modern era now. Let's go for 3 races in the 2020s, keeping it current, keeping it modern. And we're going to go with 2020 itself this time as well. There were no fans at Silverstone due to the pandemic, but if they were there, their hearts would have been in their mouths. Mine definitely was going into that last lap of the British Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton was leading the race, as he usually did around Silverstone. He's won here 9 times in his career, which is an outright record, but he almost lost it in 2020 due to a puncture. He was leading comfortably, but he got a puncture on the last lap as things were getting very marginal with the tyre wear of those Pirellis. Max Vstappen, though, he was alright. He stopped for a precautionary stop and had fresh rubber on his car. GP, the race engineer for Max Vstappen, said that you can win the race if you hurry up, if you get a shift on and you try and catch Hamilton. Hamilton's lead was just big enough though for him to come round and win the Grand Prix on 3 wheels. I don't think anybody else has done that in Formula 1 history. Let me know if there is another example of that, but nothing is jumping to mind. Hamilton's so good around Silverstone, he only needs 3 wheels to win. That's the joke that came out of that. But there was huge controversy 12 months later as the fans returned to Silverstone, and we saw a very controversial clash between Hamilton and Verstappen. Of course, in 2021, these two were both battling for the World Championship, and one of the many flashpoints in that season happened at Silverstone. They went side by side into Copse, the fast right-hander at the end of the old pit lane, and they collided. Verstappen flew into the barriers, out of the race, a really severe impact for him. Hamilton continued and he eventually went on to win the race despite getting a penalty for that incident. Should Hamilton have been given a bigger penalty? Was this a classic case of British bias in the British Grand Prix? I'll let you debate that in the comments below as always. I'm not getting involved in that right now. And the last moment comes from the race last year. We've got to talk about Hamilton's victory. He went over 2 years without a win in Formula 1. He'd won in every single season he competed in up until 2021. He didn't win in 22, he didn't win in 23, 24, he signed for Ferrari at the start of the season, but people were saying that, you know, he's a has-been, he's washed, he's never going to be on the same level that he once was. But this absolutely silenced the doubters, or at least it should have done really, because this is without a doubt one of his most impressive wins in his career. Changeable conditions, he kept his nose clean, he had excellent pace, he held off Max Verstappen in a much faster Red Bull, he overcame Lando Norris as well, though McLaren very much didn't help matters with that, but he still overcame Lando Norris in a much faster McLaren as well. He mastered the tricky conditions at Silverstone to win in front of his adoring crowd. Very much a moment that will live on in the memory of Hamilton forever, and that is his 9th and most recent victory around Silverstone. But will he get a 10th this season? Will he get a first Silverstone win, a first Grand Prix victory for Ferrari this weekend? It's a long shot for sure, but we also said the same thing coming into the race last year. Hamilton standing on the podium in each of the last 11 British Grand Prix in a row. Incredible stuff. So, let us know your favourite Silverstone moments in the comments below, guys. I made a video like this 12 months ago, but let's just say the production value has definitely improved. I always watch these videos before I redo them and update them. My goodness me, we've moved on a lot. I was recording on my phone back then, no proper microphone, no lights or anything like that. Yeah, we've definitely improved. At least I think that we've improved anyway. So yeah, we'll see you soon for much more content like this, guys, on the world of Formula 1. Let's hope for a great British Grand Prix this weekend at Silverstone.